Some of my most popular videos on this channel are me calling out other GTA YouTubers who tried to, quote, explain the lore, explain why the game is bad, and fail miserably. So let's do it again. The person today being a channel called Hex Gaming. Don't exactly know how to say the channel name, but he made a video explaining the biggest plot holes in GTA 5 story. Now sure, I agree, GTA 5 story does have quite major plot holes, but the ones he brings up are not only inaccurate, but show a level of understanding of the game of someone who played it once 12 years ago and has never since replayed or looked into it at all.
Shut the fuck up!
Michael DeSanta's very lucky timing. In the mission Complications, Franklin is tasked by Simeon to repossess Jimmy's SUV, and like the morally sound repo man that he is, Franklin proceeds to sneak into Michael's house and steal the SUV directly out of his garage. And he almost gets away with it. Too bad Michael was in the back seat. But why? He likely didn't see Franklin coming, and even if he did, how would he know that he was after the car? It's possible that it was one of the few quiet places Michael could relax by himself, but we later see him ignoring his loud family by listening to music by the pool. Why wasn't he doing that? Why lay down in the backseat of your son's car? It was nothing but a contrived way to get Michael and Franklin to meet.
It might not seem entirely clear why Michael is just lying in the back of Jimmy's car, and sure, from a casual perspective it probably just seems a bit of a contrived way to get two characters to meet, and sure, to some extent it is, but Michael was trying to overhear and listen in on what Amanda and the tennis coach were saying. It's also possible that Michael did see Franklin coming, obviously, but I doubt that considering he didn't even know who Simeon was, and he would probably have to know who Simeon was to see Franklin coming. But the main reason why Michael was in the back of Jimmy's SUV was because he was trying to overhear and spy on Amanda and the tennis coach. He suspected that Amanda was cheating on him, and he was trying to overhear what they were saying. And you might be thinking, why such a dramatic, over-the-top way? Why not just, hide behind a wall or something? Well, at this point in the story, Michael is so detached from reality, where all he does is sit, drink, and watch movies. So basically, his brain thought of a plan based on movies that he had seen. And then when Franklin gets in the car, he just pulls out a gun, because based on some switch scenes where Michael wakes up and points a gun around shouting, it's presumed that Michael likes to keep a gun on him at all times, because, you can never be too careful when you're a criminal with a bunch of very dangerous people trying to murder you, now can you? Apart from the fact he left a bunch of forensic evidence at a crime scene where he blew someone's head up, but, we'll not focus on that part. But, anyway, Michael just was so clearly in the mindset of movies and everything that it might seem like a contrived way from a casual perspective to get two characters to meet, but in reality, when you actually look into the details, it's clear that it's very obvious to me and to everyone who actually looks into the lore that Michael was just trying to overhear Amanda and the tennis coach cheating on each other.
The man himself, it's established throughout the game that Michael is living under government protection. In exchange for cutting ties with Trevor and Brad, Michael gets a cozy salary, a mansion in the Hollywood Hills, and the comfort of witness protection. However informal it may have been.
So this is what it's like to be you!
Not really, honey. See, I'm a semi-successful crook. You're a bit of a failure, but hey, kudos for trying.
Not that successful if you're in witness protection.
No! And this is the ultimate proof that this guy has just played GTA 12 years ago and never played it again since. It's the meme! Michael was never in witness protection! Witness protection for what? No one was convicted of anything. Brad was dead, Michael is apparently dead, and Trevor runs away.
So Michael was never in witness protection. Witness protection for what? No one was convicted of anything. Brad was dead, Michael is apparently dead, according to the FIB, and Trevor runs away.
Why would Michael be in witness protection? It was an off-the-books deal with a corrupt FIB agent and a criminal. There is no deal whatsoever that will see Michael living in a mansion with his stolen millions and witness protection. He is Michael Townley. It does not make sense remotely. It's like if the bloody Zodiac killer was given millions in a mansion in Hollywood. It doesn't make sense. Why? Why would Michael be in witness protection? The game must be so confusing if you genuinely believe Michael's in witness protection. It's a lie that he says to Trevor. It is a cover story and nothing more. That's all it is. A cover story to Trevor. Michael was never in witness protection. Lester disproves it. Second mission, they talk to each other. The first time they properly talk to each other in years. Dave disproves it as well with basically every line of dialogue he says throughout the entire game. So it's so obvious that Michael was not in witness protection. For what? It's a meme. It's been a meme for years in this community. But this guy is clearly just jumping on the hype train for GTA 6 and the build up to GTA 6, GTA 5 content. Clearly, this guy has not played the game in 12 years. And even when he did, he clearly casually paid attention to the story and not actually fully paying attention to the story and lore. So why on earth would Michael be in witness protection? If you think about it logically, why would he be in witness protection? He has murdered hundreds upon hundreds of people. He is the most notorious bank robber in all of human history. But you think he gets a deal? He gets to walk free? No. That's not how the justice system works. Who is he turning in? Why is he getting witness protection? Witness protection against who? Trevor? Witness protection against Trevor? Why? Why is he getting witness protection against Trevor exactly? Huh? Trevor is on the run. Thinks he's dead. Remember, people, the plan was to kill Trevor and have Brad arrested and Michael fake his death. And the whole trial of Brad being like, oh, yeah, this guy, Michael, and my other pal, Trevor, they got shot, they died, I saw it was crazy. That was the whole idea. But it couldn't have possibly been the idea if the deal was set up afterward. It also couldn't have been promised to Dave there would be a clean job, no casualties, if Dave wasn't there by Michael's choosing. There's so many lines of dialogue that prove that Michael was never in witness protection. For what? It's a meme. It's been a meme for 5 years. And this guy used it as one of his main points. His overall point is valid in this clip that I've shortened down to just the funny part. But his overall point is that Wade could never find Michael, which obviously is just so unbelievable. That's also another thing. Another meme with Dark Viper EU. So, to quote Dark Viper EU, Michael is the third most popular name in America. There are 40,000 Michaels in LA, I think. How could Wade, of all people, find Michael based on some basic information of a middle-aged man married with 2 kids, generic description for Michael's area, by the way, and a phone book with nothing more than a first name, which is the third most popular first name in America. You know how many middle-aged Michaels there are in the there are so many middle-aged married with 2 kids men called Michael in LA.
Major stretch in the GTA 5 verse is the fact that Franklin would even want to get rid of Michael at all. Franklin is left with 3 choices at the end of the story: end Michael, end Trevor, or team up and end their mutual enemies. We get wanting to eliminate Trevor, seeing how he's an unpredictable character, but why would Franklin ever decide to go after Michael? Michael served as a father figure throughout the game, made him rich, and took him out of the ghetto. Yet, he attacks Michael. Why? As a personal favor for Devin, whose motivations are flimsy enough as is, why would Franklin ever side with Devin over Michael? It doesn't make much sense, and it seems to be poorly thought out as a conclusion, simply for the sake of player agency.
No! 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 No!
In one of my recent videos, I discussed the endings of GTA 5 in detail and explained why the Trevor ending makes the least sense and why the Michael ending makes, logically in the real world, the most sense. However, the reason why it makes no sense as an ending is because, believe it or not, it's not the ending to the game. Sure, that might not be what Rockstar had in mind, sure that might be a flimsy excuse, and sure, the ending might just be for player agency, but I feel it should be important to note that the canon ending always seemed to be ending C. In Rockstar's mind and everyone else's mind, the canon ending was always considered to be ending C. And I think that was what Rockstar considered the canon ending as well before they made it officially the canon ending. I think that was clearly always the obvious canon ending, especially in Rockstar's mind, so it makes sense why the other endings wouldn't feel as good, but even at that, the Michael ending still is pretty good as a conclusion. It's the circle, it's like Franklin, it's being trapped in a cycle. In Franklin's mind, he could try and justify it by saying he broke the cycle because he killed the traitor, but in reality that makes him the traitor, meaning he's continuing the cycle. If you choose to kill Michael, it means you learned a lesson from Michael to kill people when their usefulness runs out. You learned Michael and Devin's lesson of capitalism. If you choose ending A, you still kind of learn Michael's lesson of take out people after their usefulness, but you also took a lesson from Steve of when people become troublesome in any remote way, take them out. If you choose ending C, it means Franklin finally makes his own choice. Ending A and B are Franklin thinking he's finally making his own choice, but in reality, he's just doing what other people are telling him to do, continuing the cycle of people telling him what to do, and he does it and nothing changes. Whereas he chooses ending C, he's making his own choice. He was the leader in ending C, he led the charge. So it makes sense for ending C to be considered a lot more written well and thought out than ending A and B. But still, they're not, especially ending B, the Carmichael ending, is not a badly thought out conclusion by any means.
Another poorly thought out detail in GTA 5 is the fact that Norton revealed to Trevor he was playing Brad. At the end of the game, Dave Norton reveals to Trevor that he was pretending to be Brad all along. Why on earth would he reveal this information? Trevor is highly unpredictable and ready to blow at any moment.
Hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
And it's established that Trevor has Norton on his hit list. So wouldn't this reveal just make Trevor even angrier and give him yet another excuse? It's possible that Dave thought coming forward and just admitting it would alleviate the pain, but that is one heck of a risk to take when it comes to the highly volatile Trevor.
The thing about that is, Dave had no idea that Trevor wanted to kill him. He did know that Trevor probably does want to kill him, but he didn't know that Trevor necessarily did.
What the fuck?
He just thought that Trevor probably wanted to kill him. But even at that, Dave coming out and telling Trevor that he was Brad, I think was his way of trying to just apologise and try and put this all behind them and move on and let him know, hey, I'm not just protecting Michael, no, I'm protecting you and Franklin. So it was kind of Dave's way of saying, hey, look, I'm just going to come clean, I was playing Brad, okay, but now let's just move on from this whole thing. I'll protect you, Franklin, and Michael, and we can just try and go on with our lives, you know? Basically what Michael said at the end of Ending C.
Now we keep a low profile and get on with our lives.
That's basically Dave trying to just kind of give Trevor some closure and try not to get killed. So he was somewhat right, but it's not as big as a risk as you think, because Trevor, while being highly volatile and crazy, is not dumb enough to kill Dave. He's not dumb enough to kill an FIB agent. He's not dumb enough to bite the hand that feeds him. Dave is protecting Trevor after all, and Trevor does know this. So why would he kill someone who is actively protecting him from, the death penalty? And Michael and Franklin. Why would Trevor kill the person who is not only protecting him, but protecting everyone else he cares about from the death penalty? The amount of stuff Dave knows is insane. So it doesn't make sense for Trevor to kill him, or do or hurt him or do anything, because a lot of stuff could go bad for Trevor, Michael, and Franklin if that were to happen.
On the opposite end of that, we have the fact that Michael lets people off with a warning. Throughout the game, Michael is characterized as being an extremely violent, temperamental, and selfish man. Yes, he's smart, but he is also willing to do anything, including injuring others, to get what he wants. So why does he just let some people off with a simple warning? This doesn't seem like the actions of a violent and intelligent career criminal. Even if he doesn't want to harm them, why wouldn't he at least knock them out or take them hostage to prevent them from immediately blabbing? This seems to be yet another contrived way to get characters to meet. In this case, Michael and Trevor.
When is this ever relevant to Michael meeting Trevor or the story as a whole? Very rarely does it come up where Michael comes into a situation like this. When? There's not many examples of it. Also, a major part of Michael's character, well, you might be correct, he is violent and unpredictable at times, while still being intelligent. But the thing about Michael's character, and this is a pretty big thing about Michael's character, you see, is he doesn't like to kill people unnecessarily, even when he is lashing out. He still doesn't just go and kill someone or knock them out, or, cause he's not dumb, he's smart, as you said, and knocking someone out and taking them hostage brings up massive problems. Their family probably going to be a bit concerned that, one of their family members has just disappeared randomly one day. You know what I mean? So, because Michael is being smart. Also, what you mean? It's a contrived way to get Michael and Trevor away. What characters does this happen to? Are you talking about the parking assistant guy? You're talking about the parking assistant guy. Why would Michael kill him? What reason does Michael have to kill that guy? He didn't see his face. Michael thought Trevor was dead, first of all. And second of all, why would he kill some random parking attendant? He didn't see any of their faces. There was no need to kill them. So what, and why? Why? And even without that quote being said, it was still possible for Trevor to figure out that the heist was done by Michael. The FIB were still gonna be like, hey, Michael, do this stuff for us, or we're turning you in, okay? So, and then Trevor would have been like, wait a minute. Or Trevor would have just looked at the details of the jewel store job and realised, this is a lot like how we used to do things back in the day. I wonder if Michael is still alive. Because Trevor would probably look into the details of a job, even briefly, and would probably quickly realise that, wait a minute, this is exactly how we used to do stuff back in the day in Northampton. That's a bit weird. So, again, I've said this, the jewel store job doesn't start the story. It speeds it up. It just makes everything progress slightly faster. Without it, the story would still play out exactly the same. So, this entire point is so dumb. Why would Michael kill a random parking assistant? There's no reason for Michael to kill a random parking attendant, and that wouldn't stop Trevor and Michael meeting in the first place.
Speaking of Trevor, why didn't he just get rid of Madrazo? After Trevor eliminates Javier Madrazo and steals the sensitive files incriminating Martin, he returns to Martin's home only to be denied payment. This enrages Trevor and he attacks Martin and captures his wife. Michael then fears retribution and steals an ancient artifact to give Martin as a peace offering. But why didn't Trevor just end Martin in the first place? Or end him afterward once he knew Madrazo had it in for them?
That's a good question, but I guess in some way he was protecting Patricia, maybe? It's not entirely known, and it doesn't really make a ton of sense why Michael and Trevor didn't just go and kill Madrazo, you know, but it would make more sense and be a lot cooler for them to go and kill all of Madrazo's men, but you know, I mean, the Sharmuta job or whatever it's called was probably originally going to be something similar to that, so you know, I don't know, maybe it was written out that that was part of the Sharmuta job, I forgot the name, but something like that, but it might have been written out or rewrites or, you know, stuff like that, but other than that, it doesn't really make a ton of sense why Michael and Trevor didn't just go and kill Martin, but I guess Michael realised that it's a bad idea to mess with a drug kingpin who probably has a lot more connections than just what's in Los Santos, and Michael didn't really want to deal with that. Trevor, however, doesn't make sense why Trevor didn't, but I guess he might have been trying to be more calm because he was with Patricia, which calmed him down a bit. However, he does do a ton of heists and crashes two trains into each other, so that's not exactly the most calm thing to do, but again, it is Trevor, which is pretty calm for Trevor.
Someone who gets bullied a lot is Lester Crest, and something that Lester Crest should have been able to figure out is that Trevor was alive. Lester Crest is an extremely intelligent and seemingly omnipotent man due to his technological prowess. So how is it that he didn't know about Trevor's whereabouts? He tells Michael that Trevor has likely passed away, which seems surprising considering Trevor lives just a few hours north and runs a very loud and violent criminal empire. You'd think word would get back to Lester that he would have read a news report of Trevor's violent actions. It's possible that he did know and just wanted to keep it a secret from Michael. That doesn't make a lot of sense and is never confirmed to be the case.
What the fuck?
My man, nowhere does Lester say Trevor is dead. He actively kept tabs on Trevor for a while after the North Yankton job. Michael and Lester literally talk about Trevor, and when Michael brings up the fact that Trevor's dead, Lester's like, well, he wasn't buried and there's no bodies, so he might not be as dead as you think, Michael. And Michael's like, no, he's definitely dead, trying to brush it off because he doesn't want to comprehend or try and deal with the fact that Trevor might still be alive and out there and possibly hunting him. And the whole thing about word getting back to Lester about Trevor's loud, violent criminal empire, word getting back to Lester from who exactly? Lester was probably not examining random operations, drug operations, in the middle of nowhere. He was doing stuff with our online character. He was robbing banks with our online character. Why would he be paying attention to some random drug operation in the middle of a desert? You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense why it doesn't make sense why Lester would know about TP Industries. But yeah, regardless of that, this entire point doesn't make sense if you listen to the dialogue on Case in the Joe Store, because Lester never says Trevor's dead. He kept tabs on Trevor for a while, then either couldn't continue to keep tabs on him or just stopped keeping tabs on Trevor. He literally, when Michael brings up the fact that Trevor's dead, or what he thinks is the fact that Trevor's dead, Lester's like, there was no body and he wasn't buried, so... And Michael's like, no, he's definitely dead. Charred remains on a highway, something like that, you know? And Lester's like, just kind of brush it off, you know? They don't really talk about it in detail as they are actively casing a Joe Store, but, you know, it's Lester never says Trevor's dead, and he probably does know that Trevor's alive. He probably just can't confirm that Trevor's alive.
So how did no one notice that it was Brad in the casket and not Michael? Following the Lunderoff bank robbery, Michael is seemingly eliminated and put into hiding while Brad is buried in his place. If the authorities needed to make it look convincing, why not just load the casket with some sort of heavy material and perform a closed casket service? He was apparently left in a bad state after all. Placing Brad in the casket could have been for appearances, but if that was the case, how did no one notice that it clearly wasn't Michael in the casket? It could have been a method of getting rid of Brad's body while faking Michael's passing, 2 birds with 1 stone and all that, but that's just asking for trouble, and leads to a lot of it.
I want him to look.
Thing is, no one knew what Michael looked like, and the reason Michael was at his funeral in the first place was probably to look out for people who might know what he looks like. You see, and also, another thing is, it was a closed casket service. Look at the cutscene you're playing in the background. The casket is closed. So, it's just watch the cutscene. You literally put over the audio. The casket was closed. Also, no one knew what Michael looked like. So, you know, Michael was at his own funeral to watch out for people who might know what he looks like, most likely. So, it doesn't bring up any trouble either, the fact that he's Brad. It doesn't bring up any trouble. Bury the hatchet? Trevor had already made up his mind that he was gonna go to North Yankton. He was just trying to get Michael to admit to it, or see what he would say. So, basically, you are wrong. Completely wrong in everything. You have a severe lack of basic understanding of this game. So that's all of his main points out of the way, but there is one more thing I want to say. I don't genuinely believe that this was out of malice. I just think this guy doesn't really understand the story all that well, and just played it casually 1 or 2 times a long time ago and is trying to make videos on it. But I don't think this is from a place of genuine malice. There's also this clip.
And make sure to get this video to 100 likes if you want a part 2.
Oh yeah, the video has over 100 likes, so I'll probably have to debunk part 2.
I don't have any. Oh my god! Oh jeez! Oh my god!
But you know, anyway, yeah, it's gonna do it for this video, and yeah, see you next week.